Hello friends, let us now learn some important points about X-ray beam restrictor. An X-ray beam restrictor is a device that is attached to the opening of the X-ray tube to regulate the size and shape of the X-ray beam. So this is the X-ray beam restrictor. So as the X-rays passes through it, this X-ray beam will regulate the size and shape of an X-ray beam. X-ray beam restrictors can be classified into three types. One, aperture diaphragms. Second, we have cones and cylinders. Third, we have collimators. First, let us learn about the aperture diaphragms. In the aperture diaphragms, the simplest type of X-ray beam restrictor is an aperture diaphragm. Aperture diaphragm consists of a lead sheet of lead with a hole in the center. The size and the shape of this central hole will determine the size and shape of the X-ray beam. Its principal advantage is the simplicity. When X-rays pass through this sheet of lead, the size of this hole will determine the size of the X-ray beam. The advantage is the simplicity. Lead is soft, so this lead is soft, so the aperture can be easily altered to any desired size and shape. So because the lead is soft, it can be easily altered to any desired size and shape. Then one principal disadvantage is presence of fairly large penumbra. So if this is a focal line, it's not, instead of a focal spot, if there is a line as a focal line, so on either sides of the edges there is some penumbra or blurring of the image is seen. So the central portion is called as umbra, and on either sides we have the penumbra. So if you see, the principal disadvantage of an aperture diaphragm is that it produces fairly large penumbra at the periphery of the X-ray beam. The center of the X-ray field is exposed by the entire focal spot, and this central part is called as umbra, which is exposed by entire focal spot, and the peripheral portion is called as penumbra, which is partially exposed area. That is partially exposed area that is exposed only by a portion of the focal spot. The width, so the disadvantage is that it produces large penumbra at the periphery of the X-ray beam. The width of the penumbra is reduced by 1. The positioning the aperture diaphragm as far away from the X-ray target as possible, and second, it is also accomplished by attaching a diaphragm at the end of the cone. So we have to place it as far away as possible from the X-ray target. So we are taking two situations where this aperture is closer to the X-ray target, whereas this is farther to the X-ray target. So this is X-ray target, this is nearer. So if the distance between the aperture diaphragm and the X-ray target is more, then the penumbra is decreased. So here the penumbra is less when the aperture diaphragm distance is more than the penumbra, more than the more. So if the aperture diaphragm distance is more, aperture diaphragm and the X-ray target distance is more, then penumbra is less. Here if the aperture diaphragm and the X-ray target distance is less, then penumbra is more. So this is about aperture diaphragms. Thank you.